let's just start with your, as far as back as we can go. If you know, I don't know if you happen, I know I heard you talking to Chuchian. Did
Yes.
you happen to get the name of your parents?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. Who were they?
But I don't know my father's. And my mother's, her name was, like, I'm named after her mother and her grandmother.
Right.
So I'm Frances Antoinette.
Right.
Okay. Now, Antoinette's last name is that word. She said she couldn't say it. So she
Okay.
spell it.
Yeah, if you have it, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely spell it, yeah.
Gdzic.
Wow. You know something, Alexander?
Jajit, I would say.
Alexander has a kid who he's going to school with who came from Poland and has a name. I got to ask Alexander today if that was the last name. It almost sounds like the last name.
Oh, yeah?
It's a-
Jajit.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And that was your mother?
That's my mother's, yeah.
Okay.
Now she didn't remember, like my father's grandmother's name.
Okay, well, that's fine. All right.
Yeah.
And then, all right, then your mother's full name was?
Mary Ann
Uh-huh, go ahead.
Yatskovsky, Jackowski.
Okay.
Right.
Now, important to know, did who came over and who didn't? Did both your mother and your father come over?
My father, my grandfather and his wife were married and they came here.
Oh, okay.
And then they had Uncle Martin, he was the oldest.
Okay, let's not get over to that. I want to stay strictly with.
Yeah, my mother. All right, then my mother.
Yeah.
And she was, I think, 7 years old when her mother died.
Okay.
And
Was that in Poland or was that here?
that was here, because she was born here and that was here.
Okay.
So then when when my mother's mother died, then my grandfather took himself and the four children back to Poland.
Oh, so your grandfather was here too?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So my grandfather and his first wife, they were both Polish and they came here from Poland.
Okay. There was no idea of roughly what year it could have been they came here? I mean, that would probably be 1850s or?
My mother was born in, she was 90 years old in 85, so then she what was 99?
So that was like 1895 she was born?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
My father was in the 1800s too.
Okay, all right. All right, so, yeah, all right, well, we could do the math on that later. Okay, now, all right, so that takes care of, so we know that your grandparents were the ones who originally came over. Your mother's died when she was 7, then they went back to Poland.
To Poland, yes.
And when did they come back to the United States again?
After my grandfather remarried. And when he remarried, her name was Margaret.
Okay, okay. Okay.
And she was the one that lived on Venango Street, you remember? And I think Tom went to school at North Catholic with my Aunt Dot's sons.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then Aunt Dot was, okay, well, I'll tell you what.
My mother's, like...
Your mother's mother? I mean, your mother's sister.
After the second marriage. So
Gotcha.
It wasn't like, her and Aunt Anna were, both mother and father.
Right.
And then Aunt Dot was and then my grandfather had all these children when they came here later on.
Okay. Your parents, brothers and sisters, how many, like starting with your mother, how many brothers and sisters did she have? And then for your father, how many brothers or sisters that you know
Let's
of
say
did they have?
the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Grandfather had 10
Okay, 10, meaning
all together.
altogether. So on your mother's side, can you tell me how many sisters and brothers she had?
Yeah, before he remarried,
It would be your mother's. Oh, that's right, because your grandfather remarried too, right? Is that what you was telling me? I know your father remarried.
Right.
Because that was Chachi Emma was the first on
Yeah.
they were on that side.
yeah,
But-
I never knew my grandfather from my father's side.
Okay. So, all right. So your mother had how many?
My mother?
How many sisters and how many brothers?
Well, just from the first wife, 4. 3, because she was the 4th.
Okay, and all right. The thing that I'm not understanding. You're saying first marriage and second marriage.
Yeah, because remember, her mother died when she was only 7.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And then Margaret was my grandfather's second wife, and then she had my Uncle Jake, my Aunt Victoria, and then my Uncle Tom, my Uncle Ed, my Aunt Dot.
Oh, I understand. So that's how they have. That's how the second. Now I understand. Wow,
Yeah.
I never realized that actually existed.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so then separating the two, before the marriage, your mother had how many true blood siblings?
3.
Okay, and they were.
Uncle Martin,
Okay.
she was the next. And then it was Uncle Michael, he was my godfather.
Okay.
And then Aunt Anna, she was the youngest one out of the 4.
Okay, so there were 4.
Yeah, and she
Wow.
was the one that lived up in Holmesburg.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, she died or something. She fell down the steps and hit
That
her.
was who was that? Aunt Dot, or was that or?
No, Aunt Anna. That's
Aunt
my
Anna.
mother's
Yes,
first.
I remember going there. I remember going to Aunt Anna's.
Yeah,
I do remember that. Yeah.
yeah.
Really young. Okay, then on the second marriage, who were the children from the second marriage?
First was my Uncle Jake,
Okay,
and his name was, like in Polish, Jacob, Jacob.
right.
And he was born a twin, but the twin died.
Oh, okay. You don't happen to know whether was this like an identical twin or is just a twin?
No, I don't know. I just
Okay.
know it was a twin.
Okay, so that's Uncle Jake.
Yeah.
I mean, your Jake. Yeah. Then who else?
Then it was Aunt Victoria,
Uh huh.
and then after that was my Aunt Dot, my Uncle Tom, and my Uncle Ed. Now, he was in the service the same time Daddy was.
Really?
Because when my grandmother, Margaret, when she had Ed, the youngest of her children, and my mother had Chachi Claire at that time, so the two of them were the same age.
Wow. Okay. So, all right. So, how many we got so far? We got your Uncle Jake,
My Aunt Victoria,
Aunt Victoria.
and then Uncle Jake, Aunt Victoria, then I think Aunt Dot,
Okay.
Uncle Tom, and my Uncle Ed.
So there were 5 from the second marriage.
Yes.
Wow. And so this was from
Margaret.
Okay. Now, is this, so their last names were,
All their last names now, because it was my grandfather's children. Jackowski.
gotcha, okay, we're good, all right, that's,
Right.
wow, I never realized all this had existed. All right. At this point, let's see, I'll tell you what, no, let's go a little bit further into your mom and dad now.
Mom and Dad.
Yeah, yes, talk about them. What did your father do for a living?
When he came over,
Okay.
well, you don't want all his side of the family now.
As far as, oh, actually, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I do, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Well, I forgot to ask Ann if she knew my grandfather's name.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can just stay with your father's side then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my now, his grandmother name was Catherine,
Okay.
and his mother's name was Anne.
His mother's name was Anne,
Anne,
and who was
yeah.
Catherine again?
Catherine was his grandmother.
Oh, his grandmother. Okay.
Now, my mother on her side,
Yeah.
her grandmother's name was Antoinette,
Okay.
and then her grandmother.
Yeah.
No, my mother's name was Frances.
Wow. All right. Okay. And how about on your father's side, his brothers, sisters?
Now, when they came over, then I don't know if you want to know this right now. My grandmother and grandfather had a farm outside of, Ann said it was outside of Krakow.
Okay.
That's my father's mother and father.
Okay.
Now, she had, let's see, if you, my first was my Uncle Joe, Aunt Mary, my father, my Uncle Val. Then I think I had another brother, and I don't know. And I know he had 2 sisters.
Okay.
So that's 6 children they had. Because
Right.
that grandmother never remarried.
Okay.
Now, that grandmother, and then my father's father died when they were real young.
Okay.
So he said they had to work on the farm because they all had to, help the grandmother make a living.
Right.
But as she saved her money, one by one, first she sent my Uncle Joe over here,
Right.
and then she sent my Aunt Mary over here,
Right.
and then she sent my father over here, and he was 17 when he came,
Okay.
and then my Uncle Val. And then my, if you want to know what they all did, my Aunt Mary was
Yeah,
in Wanamaker's, and she used to adjust seams for
Right.
like people that had
Okay.
clothes. My Uncle Joe was like a shoemaker.
Uh-huh.
And then my Uncle Val and my father, they both had grocery stores.
Okay.
But then there was the Depression.
Right.
And at that time, you used to go to the store and hand them a book in these little grocery stores. And when you bought what you wanted, you wrote it down.
Right.
Then at the end of the week, when everybody would get paid, they would come and pay you.
Right.
So my father had this grocery store, and then then my father and his brothers all got together and saved enough money, and they brought the grandmother over here.
Oh.
So she was living in the grocery store with them. But then my father's wife died. It was the time of the big flu or whatever it was. It was
Okay.
killing a lot of people because they said they were stacking them up in garages and all.
Even here in the United States.
Oh yeah, this
Wow.
was here. I don't know what was happening, but this was here. And she died, and she had Uncle Charlie, Aunt Stella, and Churchy Emma. And Churchy Emma was only 6 months old. Uncle Charlie was 5, I think, and Churchy Stella was 3
Okay.
when she died.
Right. Okay.
So then my mother and my dad's first wife, you know, Churchy Emma's mother,
Right.
her name was Caroline,
Okay.
but they were friends.
Okay.
And then after Churchy Emma's mother died, my father went over to, because they didn't live too far apart, so he went over to where my mother lived at that time.
Right.
And he went over to her and he said, I always remember that. So he always said, I got 3 children, I don't have any money, and I don't have a lot of money to court you and take you out or anything like that. But you know, he wanted her, and so she said yeah, and they got married. So that was it.
So it sounds like it was almost like a contract.
Yeah, and then so then they got married,
Uh-huh.
and then she came and they were in the butcher store, and that's why I said that all that stuff was happening, the depression and all. And then they weren't making any money; they were losing everything because nobody could pay
Come back
because
and pay at the end of the
nobody
week.
had jobs. And then so my mother and dad gave that up.
Wow. I
And
wonder-
in the meantime, then my dad's mother, she wanted to go back to Poland, you know, so they finally sent her back, and so she died in Poland, and that's where she lived.
Okay.
And then you know, she was with her 2 daughters and her son.
Wow.
And like I said, that picture at the head of the steps there
Right.
is my Uncle Joe's daughter, Josephine, her name was.
Right.
She was the one that painted that, but she went back to Poland and she tried to do the best she could of what my father's home looked like.
Right.
So that was the home with the thatched roof, and then the side where they have their little barn.
Right.
Then right across the road was this great big pond.
Right.
And my father was a real good swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where he learned, because he said it was very deep.
Now you talk about this home. Let's talk about the things that you were telling me about before, as far as what part of Poland this was, who was it ruled by?
No, Churchy Ann said that my dad said, no, that what she sort of still remembered was that it was outside of Krakow.
Right.
But she can't, doesn't remember the name of where he
Okay.
lived. But the only thing is Geraldine, my, the nun, that
Right.
you were sending
Right.
Christmas cards to, her aunt used to take her and her sister back to Poland all the time for visits.
Right.
So she would probably know. But like I said, so keep sending Christmas cards to her or something, get back and tell her that you were trying to remember what you wanted. Maybe she could help you.
Okay.
And I'll do it too.
Well, tell me what you had told me before, at least what you thought the part of Poland that your family came from.
Oh, right. So at the time, my mom and dad and all were born over, and then my dad and my grandfather and all, they were born in Poland. But at that time, Poland was divided into 3 sections: Russia, Austria, and Germany.
Uh-huh.
And And Daddy's mother came from Russia.
Okay.
And my father came from the part from Austria. And my mother came from the part that was under the Germans. So when my grandfather went back to Germany, she had to go to school there. So she went to school there because she was, 7 years old and everybody. So of course she had to learn German because it was all German.
Right.
And so she knew German real well by the time they came back.
Sure.
But she said it was so many years now,
I can imagine.
Yeah, that she didn't get a chance to use it.
Wow.
Right.
Did your mother do any type of work at all? Beside the store? I mean, I know at that point in time there's a lot of...
Before she got married, she used to work in some kind of... and this was when she was quite young, in some kind of like yarn factory or something like that, where they used to put yarn on spools or something like that.
I see.
And that was real close to where she lived.
All right. What was home for you? What was the address? Did you move when you were younger? Could you?
No, I was born in this house, and Chachi Ann was born there.
Okay. What's the house? What is the address of the house, and where's it located?
3478 Edgemont Street.
Okay.
And that's
in Philadelphia.
Yeah, in Philadelphia.
Okay, in Port Richmond.
And that's between Tioga and Schiller Street.
Gotcha.
Now, how about Uncle Charlie and all that?
Yeah, let's talk about those.
Okay, so then when my dad had 3 children before he married my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And her name was Caroline.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
And so he had 3 children. And my brother's name was Casimir, but we always used to call him Charlie.
Okay.
But Casimir was one of the kings of Poland.
Yeah, King Casimir, absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, so I guess my dad named him after that. And then it was Chachi Stella, Stella, and then there was Chachi Emma.
Right.
So her name was really Amelia.
Okay.
And Stella means star, of course.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Stella means star.
Yeah, kind of like stellar. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, where did Charlie and Stella and Emma, originally, do you remember as far as when they got married or where they had lived through most of the years?
Yeah, well, after they got rid of the grocery store, then they lived on Venango Street, right across the street of a Lithuanian church.
Okay.
It's on Venango, and that it's only like there's Tioga, and next is Venango.
Right, okay.
So they were there. There was stone porch houses. They're still there.
Wow.
And then that's where my mom raised those 3.
Okay.
But then my mom and dad wanted to buy the house. They were renting it, and then they were going to buy it. But here somebody else bought it already.
Oh, goodness.
So then they had to come down, and they bought this place on Edgemont Street. But I think it was by the time we were, like after my mother died, the house was like 159 years old and long. It was that old, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But it's still there, and there's people living in it.
Right.
We sold it for, I can't remember now.
No, I don't remember either. You talk about what your mother had did. What did your father do?
Well, he was there, and then later on he went into the leather factory.
Okay.
That's what he did. And then later on he found out he could make much more money unloading boats.
Oh.
So then he used to do that, and he did that until he died.
Okay,
And not until he died, until he retired.
So he was a stevedore in Philadelphia on the.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he used to get on the trolley car and get down there, yeah.
I see.
And I was going to, it was funny, when I was going to high school,
Right.
and he'd get on, and he'd have his all his work clothes, and I'd walk down to the trolley car, and we'd get on, and he'd say, "Don't sit in there, sit over there, sit over there." He wouldn't let me sit in there because he was in his work clothes.
Oh, so he was very conscious about how he was looking.
Yeah, right.
For you, what was grade school for you? And what age did you start at kindergarten, or did you start at first grade?
Yes, no, I started at kindergarten in the St. Martin School. It's on Richmond Street in Ontario. It's still there.
Okay,
So I went there till I was in the second grade.
I see.
And then, it was time for me to start they wanted me to go to a Polish Catholic school. So then I went to St. Albert's.
Right.
And that's on Allegheny and Edgemont and Thompson.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so then I went to school there. I was supposed to go into the third grade, but on account I didn't know any Polish,
Okay.
they put me back in the second grade. So I was, a little bit.
Upset about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so then I graduated from there, and then I went to Hallahan, which was a Catholic high school.
Right.
Right. And at that time, the church paid your tuition, which was $30 a year.
Oh my goodness. That's fantastic.
Right.
What year did you graduate from Hallahan?
1940.
1940.
And 36 from the grade school. And I was born in 1922.
Right. What I'd like to do, and then we'll come back to this point in time, and then start talking about the neighborhood and your friends in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
How you eventually, who you used to hang around with, how you met Dad. But what I'd like to do is go back and visit some of Dad's side as much as you know of his father's proper name. You may not know who his grandparents were, but I'd like to get the proper names of Bapchi and his father. How many siblings did Dad have? If you know of any siblings that his father had and mother had here.
They just had the family, yeah.
It was just the two of them?
Yeah.
His mother and father were here. They didn't have any siblings that came over from
No.
Poland? Did they leave any, did they have siblings that were over in Poland?
No,
Oh, so they were each an only child?
sit here, yeah.
Wow.
And I know, I think Daddy's father was born in Warsaw, or Krakow, I think it's Warsaw,
Okay. All right, so let's talk
So
about.
he was born in the city.
So both Dad's mom and Dad both came over from Poland?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Now, Dad's father, when he came over,
Yeah.
and then he got a job, he was a coachman in Long Island or one of these, we're, the upper class, all the people, and I think, and then Daddy's mom, she came over, and she went working, I think, I forgot it was a real famous, I have to see, call Phyllis about that.
Okay.
They were the real upper class, and they went and sent her to a school to cook. So
Wow.
then she was their cook.
I see.
And then they met and they got married. So, because he was a coachman and she was a cook.
So he was actually driving them wherever they needed to go and
The family,
horse
yeah.
and buggy and coaches.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
She was
amazing.
a coachman.
And is it Glen Cove, Long Island, is where they were?
Yes.
Okay, because I do remember. So that's where
Yeah.
where Dad was born.
Or
is that-
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I think they were all born in New York.
I see.
Yeah.
All right.
And Lottie,
Okay.
Aunt Jean,
Mm-hmm.
Aunt Thelma,
Right.
and Daddy,
Right.
and Uncle John,
Uncle John, right. I see.
plus Jinx.
Yeah.
That's the only name they ever gave him.
um, do you know when they moved back from into Philadelphia from Long Island?
I,
I wonder if it had anything to do with the Depression. Is when they made their move.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't know why. But I know Daddy's mother had cousins here and all, not unless she had, and they lived like on Ontario Street, right around where, not too far from Piłsudski's and stuff.
Now, who are these again? They're
That was
Dad's?
Daddy's father, Daddy's mother's cousins. That was in, they're related to them. I don't remember their name.
So then, it's her
Dad.
mother's cousins?
I don't know whether they were her mother's cousins or her father's cousins.
Oh, okay, because I was wondering about it. Because then that means. Oh, that would be her cousins, not her sisters. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
So I think maybe that's why she came. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
What did where did Dad go to school?
He went to public schools because they didn't buy a home till they bought that little place over there, and Daddy was in the service when she bought that.
Okay.
And she used to just rent, and I don't know why.
Okay, but
Yeah,
so
right here,
so
right
Dad didn't
there.
go to any no Catholic schools or anything like
No.
that. He went to public schools. What grade did Dad go until? Do you know?
Well, I know he went to, I think he went to Massbaum for a couple years.
And that's
So
the
it
high
was
school.
like, yeah, about 2 years there.
Okay,
Yeah,
so he at least made it to freshman or sophomore year at Massbaum then.
yeah.
I see. All right. Well, at this point, we're kind of in the same area of what I wanted to talk about as far as him. Now you're all living in the neighborhood. Your friends. How did you meet Dad? I mean, if Dad was going to.
Just that part.
Or anything else that you think would be worth talking about too.
Huh. Like when I lived on Edgemont Street, we had friends
Right.
there, and then
Any friends you want to name in particular? Who they were?
Rose Kowski was close,
Okay.
and like when she got real sick, I think it was scarlet fever one time.
Okay.
And would cook, and we were making fudge, so then she'd make some fudge and put it in her little pantry, like outside,
Right.
so I could get it. Or what I made for her, I put it in that little pantry, and
Okay.
and she would get it.
I see.
And then she'd get, but I couldn't go in there because they were sick.
Yeah.
And that's when they used to put a sign on your door, scarlet fever and
Quarantine and.
quarantine. Yeah.
My goodness. Wow. Yeah, at that
Yeah.
time with the diseases,
And,
if they're.
yeah. And then when I went to the grade school, and from the second grade when I met Helen,
Right.
Bernice,
Right.
Frida,
Okay.
Jane,
Mm-hmm.
Eleanor, me. I thought there were 7 of us. Okay. Jane and Eleanor. Well, you got enough of them there.
Okay. All right. And.
And from the second grade till now there's 3 of us left. Frida, me, and Helen.
Gotcha. All right. And you were together since kindergarten.
No, together from the second grade when I went to St. Albert.
Oh, St. Adalbert's. Okay. So
Yeah.
together
Right.
since then.
Yeah. And then when I went into high school, there was only like 5 of us that went into high school. Everybody else went into
Into work?
not into work, but into like a
Trade
trade school. Yeah,
Okay.
that was really a trade school.
I see.
Yeah.
Um,
So.
What are some of your, I think I'd like to see or understand some of the earliest thoughts that you can remember as a child. You told me once about that you remember waking up one morning about them putting electricity in your house.
Yeah, right.
Just if you can if there are things that you can remember
Yeah,
about
I
Christmas
remember
time.
Yeah. Well, Christmas time before, there was never a lot of money around, so you didn't get Christmas trees and gifts. It was only just, it was always like a party time because my father would make, I guess at least 50 pounds of kibasi, and my mother would have a great big ham and all these things. And then you went from house to house and it was like party time. You went to church and then you sang your Christmas carols, and the big dinner was Christmas Eve.
I see.
Yeah.
And at what point in time do you remember a Christmas finally getting a Christmas tree and having one, or was it a big deal? I mean, did you have it at what point?
I don't remember the first one, but I always remember this. My father decided he saw a white Christmas tree and he thought it was really great, so he brought it home and he sprayed it with what were they spraying the basements with?
Oh, whitewash.
Whitewash. So he sprayed it with that. And then he put all blue lights on it.
Yes.
And and it was beautiful. But when we took it down, the whole house, everything was it was just falling off all this white stuff.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh,
all over the place. And my poor mother had to clean all that up.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. And then, and I remember Chachi Ann getting a doll for Christmas, and I got like paint sets and stuff like that. And I thought, I'm not that old. How come I didn't get a doll?
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. And
how about Uncle Charlie and Stella? I mean, and Emma. What were they? How much older are they than you?
oh, they were like working and all by then.
By then, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And
Uncle Charlie was really, really bright and really smart. When he'd go to school, the teacher would get him out of the room almost because when he have tests and all, he'd pass all the answers to everybody, and he was done like real fast. And she would go out of her mind trying to watch him,
Uh-huh.
And then, so he got real good marks and stuff like that. And but my mother was always into school for something or other because they couldn't handle him, and he always wanted to go on a farm or something to
Right.
work.
Mm-hmm.
And then my father saw how bright he was, but he wanted him to go to school and all.
Right.
And he just wouldn't do it. So one time he just up and ran away. And my mother and dad never knew where he was. And then he was on this, he found a farm, a farmer hired him, and he worked on the farm. You remember even when we used to go to visit him, he always had that big farm beside his house.
In Croydon.
Yeah, right.
Yes, I do remember that.
And then, but then, and then I remember him and the farmer coming to town to sell their stuff,
Right.
And then they'd come in to visit and stuff like that. So that's my mother and dad. But then my father already knew he had to give up.
Wow.
But so that was it. And
Are there any other things that you can think of? Can you tell the story about them putting electricity into the house? How about using the bathroom, about having indoor plumbing, outdoor plumbing? How was it at that time?
it was just the outdoor. There was a toilet right next to the house. You probably saw it at Bocce's house.
Yes,
didn't
I did. I do remember.
Yeah, and that. Did we have to pour water into after you went? but it went all the way down, you know.
Mhm.
It didn't have to be taken out or nothing like, but it went into a sewer pipe and all.
I see.
Yeah.
Um, Gosh, I'm thinking about if you were ever sick in the middle of the night and you had a stomach virus and having to go out and use that when you're.
Oh no, you had a bucket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a little bucket.
Well,
And my dad would carry it down in the morning and wash it out.
how about? Can you tell me the story about putting electricity in the house?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I was in my bed. And it was early in the morning. I was little, and I opened my eyes and I saw this man poking holes in the wall, and I thought, "Oh my God, how come he's poking holes in the wall?"
Right.
And here he was putting a switch in that wall for electric because we were having electricity put in the house.
Mm-hmm.
But before then, they used to have like a little gas pipe coming out of the wall, and you could put a flame on there if you
I see.
want. Yeah.
So you had you had gas lights in your house on Edgemont Street?
Just there, you know, at nighttime that was it, and then, you know, that would go off because everybody was afraid of a fire.
Sure. Yes. Wow.
Or not, you took a candle.
Right. Right.
That was it. The bed.
Your teenage years in the neighborhood. What do you remember? I guess while you were going to high school, did you pal around with a bunch of boys and girls?
Yeah. Yeah, we were about 14 or so, and then like Bernice's brother, and then maybe some of the boys from school,
Mm-hmm.
and but we'd go. It wasn't like any dates, like the kids are nowadays.
Right.
We would get together and we'd all go to a skating rink.
Okay.
Or in the wintertime, who had ice skates, they'd go ice skating on the pond, and you'd go watch them or something like that.
Right.
You know, but then all the churches all had dances on like Sunday nights, Friday nights,
I see.
and then you would go there.
Mm-hmm. Did you? Were there trips that you guys would take together, as far as different points of the year, as far as Easter, Atlantic City?
Oh.
Can you talk about or certain lakes that you'd go to, or?
Oh yeah, when we were, you know, then as I got older, and then I used to go with a crowd that was up in Bridesburg,
Okay.
and the one guy, Arthur Bloomquist,
Okay.
he used to play football.
I see.
He would, you know, we were kind of peering off all the time.
I see.
He was real handsome. I really liked him.
Uh-huh.
And I often wonder what happened to him. But after the war, most of the boys got jobs in Washington after they graduated from high school, and that's
Okay.
where they worked. So then I knew who he married at that time because when he came to visit me after the war, you know, was
Yeah.
over, and they came home, and Daddy was there, and he was sitting in a chair, and it was Arthur and Joe, and they were leaving, and Joe said, "I guess we're not come back here no more," he said.
Really?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Because Daddy was sitting there already.
Oh, okay. So now was Arthur and Joe both interested in you, or?
Well, Joe, I went to North Catholic senior prom with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was just about the sophomore or junior.
I see.
And my mother made the dress.
I see.
It was white, and it was trimmed with a little bit of red sash and all.
Uh-huh.
And
Now was both, what was Joe's last name?
Kasky, he was a cousin of Rose's.
Okay, how do you spell that?
Their right name was Kozakowski.
Okay.
Now, her father died when they were young,
I see.
but that was his name. But her mother was German,
Right.
and so they went to the German Catholic school because, you know, in Richmond, there was like the German Catholic Church on one side, and then there was the Irish Catholic Church on the other side, and down the street was St. Albert's, the Polish Catholic Church.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, were both Joe and Arthur from Bridesburg?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there was the Bill Brewery and Bill Redinger I used to go with. And he lived directly across the street from our church.
In okay.
Bride, St.
At
John's.
St. John Canches, I see.
And he's the one I took to. I was thinking about art, but I was going to school with Mary Young, and she was from Bridesburg, but she was in my class at high school, and also we used to pal around a lot. And I think she liked him first. And then I think she asked him, and he asked Art, because she liked him. And then she said, he said that he was already asked. So then I didn't bother asking. I didn't know I wasn't going to get turned down.
Right.
So I went and Bill was one of the crowd we used to dance with. And Bill belonged to a great big band, and he was the singer. And He was good, very good. They had a big band. They used to play at the Lithuanian Hall and all, all places. Yeah.
So,
And so then I asked Bill to go to my senior prom. So he went with my senior prom.
at that time for high school, was it just only a senior prom? Did they have a junior prom or a sophomore hop? Did you have other?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so you didn't have a junior prom.
Yeah,
So
no sophomore hops or anything like that.
okay, so you went to one senior prom at North Catholic when you were a sophomore, you think?
Yeah, with Joe.
Okay, and then for your senior prom,
I took Bill Brewery.
and how do you spell Bill's last name?
Bill Redinger.
Bill Redinger.
Yeah, that's Bill Brewery was one of the guys in the crowd too.
Okay.
And there was another, I can't remember his name, and he had a boat on the
Delaware.
On the Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
And so we used to go out on that. And then, let's see, Art had a brother. I thought his name was George.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't with him that time, but a whole gang went over, and they went across to one of the places across the bay, and they all went swimming. He dove into the water and he drowned.
Wow. While you guys were all together, or you?
I wasn't there at that time. I don't know if it was just all the boys that time or what.
Wow.
Yeah.
They don't know what happened, if he hit his head or anything like that, or?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember that.
My goodness.
Yeah. And
Now at this time, you're talking.
and then when after I graduated, then St. Albert's, they had there was a boys club right next to the church, and that was, for all the graduates.
Right.
Yeah. And so after we all, the gang from all the high schools graduated from, and then they had a dance for us in the church hall.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met, I can't even remember his name. What they awful. And, yeah, I'll give you the name later on.
Okay, it'll come
But
to you.
So then one of the fellows asked me for a date, so then I started dating him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took me to the New York World's Fair, and he took me into town to the shows and all those kind of stuff. And this was all single dates and all. And so I came home the next day. My mother said to me, do you like him, or, would you, end up with him or anything? I said, no. I said, I don't really like him. I said, well, we go out. And she said, well, you better break up, because I think he would be serious.
Oh.
So after that, I broke up. But in the meantime, while I was dating him, and here in that club, even though Daddy didn't graduate at that time, he used to hang around with them boys all the time. They're always with those guys, and then and so I probably met him through Johnny Thought. That was his name.
Right. That's
And-
right. Yeah, I remember that name.
And then so he used to drive a truck for Quaker City.
Okay.
And so he was driving by one day, then he saw me, and he asked me for a date, and I said, oh, I don't know. And then, so then I saw him again, he asked me, so I went out. Then I went out with Daddy, and then I started going with him.
So
And before I know it was the war and all that.
you said Dad was driving a truck for Quaker City?
Yeah, that's what he was working.
And Quaker City's what, ironworks or?
Yeah, that's what, yeah. And his father used to work in there.
Oh, okay. So
But he used to do like all the running around for them.
see.
Not this big heavy stuff, but this was a nice truck and it, you know.
Oh. And so you met Dad then, and then right after that, how soon after do you think that the
war?
war? I mean, was Dad brought in on the part of the war? That was after Pearl Harbor, right? That's when they created a big draft. But
Yeah, when they had the draft.
Okay.
See, they had the draft, but most of the guys were enlisted. You know, they weren't going to be drafted. So that, you know, really, all the young guys just went up and enlisted.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then he went out, well, this is around 40, I think,
Okay.
or 30. Yeah, it must have been 40, because 39 was when Poland was taken over.
Right.
And they were into Poland and stuff.
Can you tell me about, so it was soon after you had met Dad that he had gone off to overseas for World War II.
Yeah. He landed in Oran, in North Africa.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that's still Oran or not. I was talking to Runji, and she said she didn't hear of it. And I thought, you know, if they're still calling it Oran, she would have, of all people, she would have known. But she said, and so lots of, you know, all that African things are all being changed names and stuff.
Sure.
So then he made a beachhead in Sicily.
I see.
And then they made a beachhead in Italy.
Okay. Well, that would be Salerno.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when he got shrapnel on his knee, and they took him out of and had him in the hospital.
Okay.
But then when he was out of the hospital, they put him in the driving thing.
Driving pool.
Yeah.
Watch so you don't hit your microphone as you're talking.
Huh? Oh,
What?
okay.
So, okay.
So then he drove all the visitors from all the big guys from America and all. And these were like presidents and all, because had great big vans, not vans, great big beautiful cars, long ones.
Like
Cadillacs and
limousines?
all those other ones. Yeah.
Wow. So that's what he would drive them in. So he wasn't necessarily just driving them.
Yeah, I got a picture of him at home standing beside, like him and all the guys standing there. Yeah.
Oh, I have to see that one.
Yeah, and then you remember? Then Frank Sinatra went over there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know that.
Right.
And then the Andrews sisters at that time were big. They were there.
Right.
Phil Silvers was with Frank Sinatra when they came that time, and I have pictures of Frank Sinatra in that little book too, and in my my photo album.
I see.
Yeah, in that photo album that is sitting there. So when you take me home, you take a good look at it.
Yeah,
And then right after Daddy died, Marge asked for it. So she wanted everything from Daddy.
All the
You
war
remember
related.
that?
Yeah, all the war related stuff.
So she took that. And then after Marge died, I asked John for it, so then I got it back.
No, that's important.
Yeah.
So, how old was Dad when he went into when he went overseas?
Let's see, he was 27 when we got married. I guess around 21
Okay.
or 20, 21.
So he was over there for 4 years or so?
4 years.
Okay. What was the frequency? Did he come back?
No,
Like,
no, they were over there.
gone years?
Yeah.
They never came back, not
Yeah.
like they do today.
And I can't remember the name of who it was, but it was one of the generals or something that had to go over to the east, you know? And he said, boy, you're a good driver. He said, I'd like to take you with me. So he said, I really had a hard time because this was like the war was ending already.
Right.
Whether I should go there or whether I should come home, you
Right,
know?
sure.
He said, but he finally came home.
Wow, 4 years of being away without ever coming back.
Oh,
That-
yeah. No.
But I thought I saw a picture. Was that the pictures that I saw of Daddy in his uniform on Edgemont Street? Is
Oh,
that,
yeah, that was before he went over.
That was before he went over. so
Yeah,
that-
that's right, that time, yeah. And when he went into the service, they used to ask them, you know, what they would like to do and stuff. So he had a lot of knowledge, because since he was real little, he used to go to this guy and he used to work on cars and motors and stuff, so he knew all about them. So he said he wanted to be
Mechanic.
airplane mechanic.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what he really went, and he thought that was really, so he went to, see, ain't that awful when I'm,
Wait, to boot camp, you mean, or what?
yeah, when he went to he went to a couple of camps.
Oh, yeah, he went to, his first stop wasn't it Camp Lejeune? Didn't he go to South Carolina first, or North Carolina for boot camp?
Yeah, right. I know right before he went over, he was at Fort Devens,
Oh, Fort Devens,
Massachusetts,
Fort Devens, that's right.
in Massachusetts.
Okay,
But he was in the South before, because he said all the Southern people would, ask him over for dinner and all. Wasn't that nice?
wow, yeah.
So, it was nice.
Southern
So he had,
hospitality.
I think he had pictures of him and some of the girls and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who were some of the other, we talked about Frank Sinatra, you said Phil Silvers,
Silvers. There were,
the Andrews sisters.
yeah. There was a couple of signed photographs in the back of that book, that magazine photo.
Who were the
There were dancers and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember them. And then, but these were like political guys.
I see.
And he said, when he was coming home, he said they had all the soldiers loaded on the truck, and they were going to take them to the boat and stuff.
Right.
He said all these Italians were around him, and they said they want their shoes so much because they're 100% leather, and they were good shoes. And I think at that time they couldn't get anything,
Right.
you know. So he said he took his off and salted them.
He did.
Yeah.
Did he have
And
enough?
then when he was on the boat, I think they were flying. Oh, yeah, he said he decided that he wasn't going to eat everything, just regular food. So he went down and asked the gallery if they needed any help, if he could work down there. And they said, yes. He said, I used to eat top grade then. See, that was Daddy.
That was smart. You figured work the angle and get decent food
Yeah.
instead of just sitting there waiting it out.
Yeah, and everybody would get the same thing. And this way, you want the upper class rating, and if it was there, he could have it.
The end of World War II came.
Yeah.
How did you get the news, and what was your type of correspondence with Dad when all this was happening?
And you know what? I'm so sorry I did that now. But I had a whole box like this.
I was with Dad when he got
All
rid of it.
Dad's letters that he sent to me.
Yeah.
They're all dated. I had them all little packs and little things in front of them, what
Yeah.
date, you know. And I kept every one of those.
Right.
And then we were married, and I had this big box. I had it in the closet, and this and that and that. And one time we had a fight, and he always used to say, "Get rid of those damn things. Get rid of those damn things." And I said, "No, no, no, no." So that one time I said, "Okay." So I took them and I threw them in the trash and got rid of them.
Wow.
Wasn't that stupid?
Well, I remember going with him to the incinerator with letters. I don't know if they were your letters to him, possibly back.
No, no. He didn't have those because he had no way of carrying them. Yeah, he had no way of carrying them.
Oh, okay. All right. So, so basically, when you sent letters back to him, he would read them and then eventually he'd burn them or
Yeah,
discard
he'd have
them.
to burn them, or he'd save some, like pictures and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I know he. I don't know if it's still there or not.
The one picture of you in Hawaiian.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And my father was, wow, you silly. He was so mad at me because me and my girlfriends went down to Atlantic City. You know, we were on the boardwalk, and they were taking these pictures, so I did. And so then I sent it to Daddy, and when my dad saw the picture, you know, oh my God, you know. You know, I think I had all my clothes on, only my legs were
Sure.
Oh my God. But this is, I wonder if that, I think that has to be around somewhere. So when he went in the service and he didn't get what he wanted, it couldn't be, so he got real mad. So he sat down, he wrote a letter to the president.
Really?
Yes. And his big complaint was, you know, he could sit and write, even though he really didn't have any, you know, and he could, and I couldn't do that. And I did, you know, I write and that, get it over with. And so what he did, he put it, he knew he couldn't do it, so he put it in another envelope and he sent it to me and told me to mail it. So I mailed it. And I don't know if it ever got to the president, but it got to somebody. But it came back to where he was in camp. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And he got called up about it, and he said, boy, he got really, I don't know how much time he got, you know.
In the break for it?
Break for it or what.
Really?
So that's what he did.
Oh, my goodness. He seemed to have always found a way if he needed to get
Yeah,
some
sure.
information through. He did it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And Daddy, of course, he liked to go out, and that was it. So we had you children, he would come home from work. Well, because you remember this, he'd take a shower, go up and lay down. No, he'd come home, we'd eat supper all together.
Mm-hmm.
He'd go up and take a shower. And no, he'd lay down for a little while for a rest. Then
Right.
he'd take a shower, and then he'd go out.
Right.
And that was almost every night.
Right.
But I was, you know, already, my girlfriends would come to our house, and then we'd go to their house and all like that. But every time I wanted to go out and do something, even though there was 4 there and the little baby, he'd say, go ahead, go ahead. He wouldn't keep me from going anything, you know.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. And for me to sit there and fight with him about him going out or everything, I didn't think it was worth the trouble of me getting upset and you listening, and the kids listening to that. So I
Right.
just have to go.
I see. Let's talk about him coming back from World War II.
Yeah.
And how did it progress as far as...
Yeah, well, he came back, and a year after he came back, we got married.
I see.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the wedding, how it happened, where it took place? And
Well, it took, we got married in St. Albert's Church,
okay.
which he belonged to, and I, you know, we did too.
Mm-hmm.
And Frida and Helen were my bridesmaids.
Mm-hmm.
And
Phyllis was your maid of honor.
And yeah, Phyllis was a maid of honor. Chachi Ann got married 10 days after me, or I got married 10 days after her.
After who?
Chachi Ann.
Oh, Chachi Ann. Oh, wow.
It was like 10 days apart.
My goodness.
And so that's why we didn't have each other's, you know, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the, and then we went, so then after, the wedding was in my mother's house, of course.
Right.
So nearly all the furniture was, the front bedroom was where all the tables were, where all the people ate.
Okay.
And then down the basement was a bar.
I see.
And in the dining room and the living room, there was the orchestra and the dancing, and all the furniture and everything would be taken outside, put in that yard, and covered, you know, so the
With
when
tarps,
rain wouldn't get it.
Right.
So then, and then my mother would have like cooks and stuff like that come in to help with the cook and stuff, and
Wow.
stuff like that.
How long did your reception last? Was it just for the day, or was it?
I just remember it was, yeah, it would just be that, not a couple days.
Okay.
It would be, and so we'd get back from church,
Mhm.
we probably ate and stuff, and
Right.
then he used to have Polish had a little ceremony, I don't even remember, you know, they have bread and salt and a little bit of wine on it, and the daddy's parents.
Right.
My parents were there, and you had to take one, I guess, so you would never be hungry,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. And then you know, later on, the band would come, and I remember this. And everybody was dancing, and then my uncle Ed,
Mm-hmm.
he, it was near the end of the night, and he wanted them to, and they were ready to pack up to go home.
Right.
So I don't know if that was 12 o'clock probably. And so he gave them some money, and he asked them to play longer. And then later on, he looked around, and they were packing up anyway. So they thought maybe it was a tip or something.
Right.
Oh, boy, he was so mad. And I remember they had to keep the guys apart that time.
Oh, really? So
Yeah, it was a bit of a brawl at that time. Yeah. So, and Al Diggins was one of Daddy's,
one of his men.
yeah, and Uncle Jinxie,
Okay. Ushers.
ushers, and that was it.
You got married. What happened after? Where did you move to after you got married?
Well, right after we got married, the next day, we slept at my mother's house.
Right.
And then the next day, we packed up and we went to Chicago. His cousins always want them to visit.
Mm-hmm.
So Daddy had this old 37 Chevy that he drove before he went in the service.
Right.
So we had the car over at Uncle Ed's
Mm-hmm.
father's garage. And they had it up on blocks and all, so it sat there for 4 years.
Now, what Uncle Ed is this?
Chichi Claire's husband.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And then, so then when he came back, they took it down, and then they got it running and stuff like that. And so we went to go to Chicago, but I remember going about 20 miles, and he'd have to stop. And I don't know what it was, but he'd have to go under the hood. He said it was like rust and all.
From the gas tank, from the gasoline
Yeah.
sitting in there for 4 years. and-
Yeah. And then he'd get that out, and we'd drive again, and we went to Chicago at that. And at that time, the turnpike was we slept in Harrisburg. Went to a hotel in Harrisburg. We slept there. And then I think we slept at another motel before we got to Chicago.
Mhm.
And
So then we got there, and then it was Daddy's. Somebody on Daddy's side lived there.
All right.
Yeah, so we went there, and we stayed there for a while. And Dad, I don't know if it was Daddy's cousin or who it was, but he was working for Standard Oil
I see.
out there, and I think it was Standard Oil, and he was making much more money than Daddy was making, here. So then he asked Tom if he would want a job there, and Tom said, "Yeah, sure." So then he asked the boss about it. He said, "Yeah, bring him in." So then he went there. So we worked there for about 2 years.
And that was outside of Chicago?
That was in Hammond, Indiana.
Okay.
And then that was only for a little while, and then we went to get our own apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And then, first we saw this ad in the paper, so we went there. So there was this people, and so they were Polish people, and they were real nice. And then we lived there, but the woman was great. She would, we had a bedroom and a kitchen, and that's all it was,
Mm-hmm.
And if I'd come home, the beds would be made, the clothes would be washed and on the bed, and everything was all straightened up. She was always, fantastic. I can't even remember what we paid her,
Wow.
But you remember Helen and Clemmy from Chicago?
Yes, yes.
Well, it was Helen's mother. That's how we met Helen and Clemmy.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And Clemmy, was a captain in the service.
In the service, right. That's
Yeah.
right, because when he came back, they lived in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and that's we used to go there all the time to
Right.
visit them.
Wow. So you were in
In
Hammond?
Hammond, Indiana. So we were there for about a year. Then we decided to get our own apartment. So we went there. Then while we lived with her, we had our own General, little dog at home.
Right.
And my mother kept him. So then he wanted to bring him with us.
Right.
So Helen's mother said, "Yeah, bring him." So then we brought the dog there, and she would bathe them and everything else. And she was like fantastic. And then we got our own apartment, but we weren't allowed to have the dogs. So she said she wanted them because she got used to them, and so she kept them. So then
So that's how General. I often wondered what had happened to
to
General.
General, yeah.
So she took him.
Yeah, so it was.
Because I remember Dad saying about him climbing trees.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we have a picture of him. I think when Daddy would come back, when we were, I think maybe right after when we come back. So we were only there for, I'd say about 2 years, 3 years at the most. And then, every time there was a wedding or Christmas, we were always running back and forth. And so then one time we came home, and my father was sitting there, and Daddy and Bocce and us, and we were sitting and eating, and he said, "Well, by the way, how much money did you guys save since you've been there?" And we both looked at each other. We didn't have any money. We were running back and forth, and all this stuff.
Right.
And then when you come home, you want all new clothes and everything else.
Right.
So then after that, he said, so Daddy, we said, he was supposed to go, we were supposed to go back. He said, "Look, you stay here with your mother. I'm going with him. We're going back. We're going to pack you up and bring you back." He said, then we lived with my mother for about a year or so.
Okay. Now, in that time that you lived out in Hammond, Indiana, now supposedly the pay was better since,
Yeah.
right?
But I don't remember what it was.
Did you hold on to the same car, or did you get another car while you're out there since he was having so many
Oh,
problems?
no. It was the same car. We
Same
came
car.
back with that. And then when we got here, and then we were both working. I worked for
The American News. Oh, yeah, the American News Company. I worked with them right after I got out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in the office, you know, with booking and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then when I went to out to Chicago, out to Hammond, Indiana.
Right.
Oh no, this was in Chicago when we were with with Clemmie's mother, Helen's mother.
Right.
And when we lived there, and not too far from there. No, from Chicago it was.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when we were with his cousins or wherever they were, and it wasn't far from there. There was an office of the American News Company out there. I went over there and I got hired there right away.
Oh, so that's when you were out in Indiana.
Yeah, and well, when I worked in Upper Darby
Right.
in that office there.
So that's great.
And then I worked out there too. And then when I came home, I don't know, what did I do? I know I was working. Oh yeah, I went back to work with the American News Company up at, and then and that was pretty far from home because I used to have to get on a tri-car and all.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was I forgot his name. We got a new boss, and here he didn't live far from Bocce, you know. So
Right.
he used to pick me up and drive me every morning and bring me back.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
So, at that point in time, you were still living with your parents.
Yeah, we lived there for about 2 years too.
Okay.
And then we were saving money that time.
Okay.
And then Daddy was getting something from the government too.
Oh, right, from the
Yeah.
war.
And then he went to school too. That's where he learned all the paper hanging and decorating and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. And that's when he painted that chest in my bedroom now that was in Bocce's house. And
Right.
it's in there now. So that's, and let's see. Yeah, then we came back and they lived there, and then we saved money, and then we bought our first. We had a picture of it. You ever see it? It was a black Chevy, slim back. It's almost like a lot of the cars you see today.
Right.
And it was $1,700.
Right.
So we went and paid cash for it. Boy, you know, that was a big deal then.
Right.
So we got that, and then.
Now, did that wipe out the bank account when you did that, or
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, because
And this was still while you were living at home.
yeah, we were at my mother's house when
Okay.
we bought that.
Okay.
And then later on, we went to look for a house, and then we saw this in Bridesburg. Oh, yeah, then I was trying to get pregnant that time, and because I think altogether we were married about 4 years already. And so every time I went to the doctors, they were doing all kind of searches and
Right.
doing this and doing that. And so then one time Daddy said, so, you know, everything you're paying cash for everything before.
Right.
He said, if you're going to get pregnant, you get pregnant. If not, you're not. He said, so we were looking for a house,
Mm-hmm.
and then we saw this house. He said, well, buy that house, and in the wintertime, we're going to go to Florida. And then in the summertime, we'll stay in this house. So that was his plan.
Gosh.
We moved to this house. I think 6 months later, I got pregnant. And then I got
And 3 more came along.
yeah. And then you at 38.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
So. And then, you know, Bridesburg, you know, it's a family community, and everybody took care of everybody else, just like they are now.
right.
Like both of my neighbors have keys in my house,
Right.
so I never lock my screen door in the back. I just so
Right.
they can get in. But there's 2 locks on the back door,
Sure.
so that's always open. So when if I have trouble, they'll come in.
Did you Did either your father or Dad's father drive? Did they?
No.
They never had vehicles, right?
No.
'Cause that-
Uncle Charlie bought a car one time, and he had a near accident, and he got all upset. And he never drove either.
Wow. Okay.
And Chachi Saul never drove. Chachi Emma never drove. Chachi Claire drove.
Right.
Chachi Ann started, but she gave it up. She never,
Right.
yeah. And I never drove. Never drove either.
You spoke, about meeting Dad driving a truck for
Corker City.
Quaker City. Do you happen to remember the first date you guys went on, or was it with a group of friends, or what was your first date like? If you remember.
I can't remember the first date.
Was he just...
But I remember, he had a radio in the car, and he was always singing. He'd sing a lot
Uh-huh.
and all. Right.
Can you explain how you met again? Was he just driving by? I mean, did you know of him already, or?
Yeah, I met him from the St. Albert's club that the boys had, because they had the dances on Sunday night.
Right.
So I met him at the dance one time, twice, and then and he was Johnny Solid's boyfriend. They were,
Okay.
close.
Yeah.
And
That's great.
so yeah, he was just driving by, and he said, "Oh, hi!" So I went over and started to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we covered a lot.
Yeah. That's why I said much more than you thought you were.
Today is September 27th, 2007.
Right.
Hopefully this will...
And your mother is almost 86 years old.